Hey everybody, welcome back to Hope Cottage. Last night I had a dream and I wanted to share it with you guys. This morning I woke up early from a dream in which the city that I was in was being destroyed. It wasn't a familiar city to me, and it featured several elements different from where I live. Things like tall skyscrapers or a city rail line, like a train, rail line through town. My memories of the dream start with me being a part of a large crowd of people who were moving through the city from place to place, and they were trying to avoid various forms of destruction. At one point, we were in some kind of a closed-off vehicle, like a bus or a train, moving slowly through these crowds of people. Someone wanted to get off the train, and I held my breath while the door was open because I knew that there was some kind of poison or plague of sickness in the air outside. I sensed that the person wanted to leave because they were afraid and they wanted to get back into the crowd that they were familiar with. The group grew smaller, and there was just a few of us in a parking garage. I looked up to the skyscrapers outside, and I saw 3 or 4 huge, dark tornadoes heading for us. We were trying to find shelter, but it was just this open parking garage with nowhere to hide. I watched these tornadoes destroying those tall city buildings around us, so I was sure that they would destroy us. But they didn't. We were safe. We were protected. They didn't even come close. They didn't even pass over us. I realized that each destructive thing happened for just a short time before something else started up. It was kind of like the plagues of Egypt, right? The judgments of Revelation, maybe one thing after another, right? Sickness and then tornadoes and then things falling from the sky. And one thing would end and another would start. I and the people in my group were waiting these things out, but we were not affected by them if we didn't give in to the temptation to stop trusting God. There was temptation all around, and something about us sticking together with those who were fighting it also was helping us to fight it internally even better. One time, a small group of us were traveling in a car, and someone got out and walked away. And I knew in my heart that they had walked back toward their addiction. People would give in, and we knew that we'd never see them again after they left our group. It was a final decision. It was a time of reckoning, right? And a time in which they just needed to choose that day which way they were going to go. One guy saw a wad of money sticking out of a backpack and reached up to take it. And we all rebuked him, and so he sheepishly put it back. Then the guy who owned that backpack grabbed the money and divided it up between all of us sitting there. He handed us all really big bills. And I think this was kind of to say that money didn't matter anymore. Nothing that we could do for ourselves would save us. We were completely reliant only on God's mercy and protection during this time. That same guy is the one who, when I was freaking out in the parking garage because I couldn't find shelter, he said, "Something I've learned is to be ready in all circumstances." He wasn't talking about physical preparedness. He was talking about spiritual preparation. That guy was kind of weird though. I couldn't put my finger on it. He just kind of had a no-nonsense sort of assurance, and nothing really fazed him, and he just kind of seemed a little odd. As our traveling crowd diminished more and more, I remember being surprised at the people that I knew who were around me. People that I hadn't seen in a really long time. Some of them I had a past with that wasn't a very good, happy past. They were people I didn't necessarily have super great memories with. But we were all united in Yeshua. We were his remnant. We weren't necessarily desperate for survival, but I remember at one point in the dream that I asked Yeshua in my heart if he would preserve my life and let me walk into his new millennium alive. When I woke up, I thought about a few things. For one, we were being protected while God did what he needed to do for the judgment that was happening around us. As long as we stayed out of his way and made sure that our own hearts were in order, the destruction around us did not affect us. We watched it happening, but we watched it pass us by. Secondly, we were all able to be tempted still, but we encouraged one another to not give in. We rebuked those who we knew to be believers when we saw them being tempted, and that was another way that we were able to move through this falling city without being affected by the destruction around us. We held each other up, and we held each other accountable. And we let those who were not willing to walk with us walk away. We've been taught to pursue the lost and to bring them back into the fold. And I do think that the pursuing part is definitely part of the Great Commission. But the bringing them back part, that is the work of the Holy Spirit. There comes a time when carrying the burdens of another becomes too much and too heavy. There will also come a time when we can't help them anymore. At this point in my dream, I had accepted that some were just going to walk away. It was what needed to happen. They'd rejected what God was offering them, and there was nothing that we could do about that. I thought about how I didn't like everybody around me. I didn't know everybody around me. They were people that I was preparing to enter into eternity with. And they weren't necessarily who I'd pick. I had a history with some of them. I was weirded out by that one guy, right? But the truth is that he was different, not bad. We had Yeshua in common. We had following Yahweh's commands in common, and that was enough to unite us, to make us brother and sister. When I woke up and read out this dream, I realized that I was being shown a plan of survival for the end times, but also for these times. Assuming that they're not both the same time, which is highly probable. Don't think that we can't necessarily rule that out, right? This is how we will get through uncertain and unprecedented times, by encouraging one another, holding each other to account in a loving way, knowing who to keep close and who to let go. The ones we keep close are the ones who are walking with us, even if they might not be walking exactly the same as us. Are they pursuing Yeshua? Are they pursuing Yahweh's commands? Those are the ones that are on our side, right? Those are the ones we walked with. And those who are not, at some point, we're going to have to make the break. We will get through these sorts of times by understanding that different isn't always wrong, and that God really is our only source. I hope this lesson encouraged you guys. I will see you soon.